P. Diddy. The name alone conjures up images of excess, wealth, and a level of swagger that can only be described as borderline obnoxious. He went from being one of the most influential figures in hip-hop to somehow finding himself struggling to keep it all together. This is the story of the rise, the fall, and the occasional comeback of Sean P. Diddy Combs, a mogul who made his empire off bling, beats, and branding, but ultimately couldn't dodge the inevitable crash that comes with thinking you're invincible. Let's start with the rise. In the early 90s, when rap was exploding into mainstream culture, Diddy wasn't just a rapper. He was a power player, the guy who figured out how to merge the art with the business. He wasn't the first to manage talent, but damn if he didn't know how to make an artist's career a household name. If you were in the game and wanted to make money, you wanted to be on Bad Boy Records. It was more than a label, it was a culture. He signed Biggie Smalls, and the rest, as they say, is history. But that wasn't enough. Diddy wasn't content with just being a music producer. He wanted the throne, the crown, the whole damn castle. He wanted to be the definition of luxury. Here's where the absurdity of P. Diddy's empire starts to unfold like an expensive suit on a cheap mannequin. He didn't just market music, he marketed himself. He was everywhere. The Diddy brand, new suits, shiny watches, exclusive parties, and clubs became synonymous with a lifestyle that was both aspirational and inaccessible. He sold it like it was the American dream wrapped in gold chains, and people bought it, hook, line, and sinker. It was genius. It was also maddening. People would actually buy a bottle of Ciroc because Diddy told them it was the only vodka worth drinking. Never mind that it tasted like absolute garbage. He had created that desire. It wasn't about the product anymore. It was about the status. And to everyone, he was the embodiment of that status. Now, let's be real. This is where things get tricky. When you're a genius at building an empire, the one thing that always sneaks up on you is that the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And fall, he did. It wasn't immediate. No, P. Diddy wasn't going to go down without a fight. After the tragic murder of Biggie Smalls in 1997, Diddy had to face not just the loss of his friend, but the loss of his relevance as a mogul. Hip-hop was evolving, and it wasn't about glitzy suits and flashy labels anymore. Diddy still tried to hold on to the image. The world wanted realness, grit, and authenticity. But Diddy was playing catch-up. Hip-hop was no longer the shiny, glossed-over world that Bad Boy Records was built on. The culture was shifting, but Diddy was still holding on to a formula that had worked, even as it started to feel out of touch. And it's here, in the midst of a new wave of rap stars who made their names by doing more with less, that Diddy began to slip. He went from mogul to caricature. Remember the infamous P. Diddy's Making the Band? A show where he built a boy band and treated them like his personal puppets? The very image of the mega mogul, demanding the impossible, yelling at them to walk faster as if that was the key to stardom, became the defining moment of his fall. People started laughing at him instead of looking up to him. He wasn't the boss anymore. He was the joke. But the downward spiral didn't stop there. Enter the 2000s, where P. Diddy wasn't just making a mess of his business decisions, he was actively making a mess of his personal life. The world watched as he went from super relationship to super relationship, with every messy breakup becoming more public than the last. In 2007, he broke up with longtime girlfriend Kim Porter, the mother of his children, and the world was not here for it. One minute, they were the golden couple, and the next, they were splashed all over tabloids. Diddy wasn't just losing his grip on his business empire, he was losing his family. Let's talk about the money. Because when you're a mogul, the money is always a symbol of success, right? Except when it's not. Somewhere between launching new clothing lines, trying to find a new big star, and expanding his alcohol empire, P. Diddy found himself in a financial mess. He had diversified, yes, but diversification without focus often leads to financial ruin. His investments weren't bringing in the kind of returns they once did. That's when people started asking the hard questions. Was P. Diddy still relevant? Was he still the boss? And even worse, could he afford to be that boss anymore? Diddy wasn't just making bad business choices either. He started taking personal risks. He dove into the fashion world. Remember Sean John? At its peak, it was worth millions. But trends change, and so did fashion. The world moved on, leaving P. Diddy behind. He started clinging to the idea that his brand still had that undeniable luxury appeal. And the business? Well, his once pristine brand started to tarnish. Bad Boy Records wasn't dominating the charts anymore. Big names like Kanye West and Jay-Z, who came after Diddy, had transformed the music business into something far more multifaceted, far more subtle, far more real. Jay-Z was building an empire that was both artistic and financial, while Diddy's empire started to look less like a well-oiled machine and more like a relic from a bygone era. He had been a legend, but now he was becoming a footnote. But let's be honest, the man's too proud to ever stay down for too long. Diddy had his moments of semi-comeback. He tried to get back into the game, hyping himself up as the elder statesman of hip-hop. But the thing about getting older in a youth-driven industry like rap is that you have to remain relevant. And while Diddy was still giving us the occasional banger, he wasn't at the front of the line anymore. And don't even get me started on his attempts to reinvent himself. The guy launched a new music network, reality show style, but nobody cared. It felt like the world was slowly closing the door on his brand of flashy success. You can make the argument that Diddy was a victim of his own success. It's easy to point to him as a man who had it all, only to lose it. But that's a simplistic way to look at it. The reality is that Diddy was a man who mistook luxury for relevance, noise for substance, and fame for lasting power. His empire crumbled because he failed to evolve when the world around him did. Sure, he still had money, but money doesn't protect you from being forgotten. And that's what Diddy learned the hard way. The tragedy? He was so busy building an empire, he forgot to build something more valuable. A legacy that mattered beyond just the dollar sign. Diddy's empire, as grand as it was, couldn't survive the test of time. When you're too busy counting your billions, you forget to build something worth counting, and in the end, that's what brought him to his knees. So here's the punchline. P. Diddy, the mogul who once made everyone want to live like him, is now a figure who makes us wonder, what happens to all those guys who think they can stay on top forever? The answer? They fall off. Hard. Because, as it turns out, the fall from the top isn't just about losing money. It's about losing everything you built along the way. And let's just say, when the empire falls, it's never as pretty as it looked when it was rising. If you were lucky enough to have Diddy's number, you might want to delete it now, because the next time he calls, you'll hear the sound of silence instead of a billion-dollar pitch.